Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's look at what's new in iOS 16. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So there are a lot of new things in iOS 16 for iPhone. Let's take a look at some of the best new features. First, let's look at lock screens. You can highly customize your lock screen in iOS 16, and you can see here the basic one, but you can have many more. So I've got several here, and you can easily create them just by going to the last one. It's very similar to the Apple Watch interface for doing this. And there's a ton of different things here. You've got all these different basic featured ones, and then you can dig down deeper and see ones like photo shuffle, weather and astronomy. There's emoji patterns that you can create. You can just do them by color, with a color gradient. And then once you select one, you can customize it beyond that with different fonts and things like that. Plus you can add and remove widgets. So you can see there's a calendar widget and a weather widget and a reminders or clock widget there. You can remove those. You can add some other ones. Different apps have widgets as well. So you can scroll down through the apps and you'll be able to see third-party apps that have widgets for the home screen as well. Once you've customized your screen, you can add that to the list of screens there, and it's so easy to actually tap and hold the screen and then swap around and choose a different one. So you can kind of choose a different lock screen depending upon your mood. Now Focus has some new features as well. One of them relating to those lock screens. So you can actually go into a Focus and you can customize the home screen and the lock screen when you're in that Focus. So for instance, you can choose the pages on your home screen that show, but also you can set a different lock screen. So you can have Focus modes that say go on in the evening and that change your lock screen for the evening as opposed to the day. You can also in Focus now go and add Focus filters. So instead of having to turn off all notifications for calendar, say, you could go in and only have notifications for certain calendars. The same thing for people sending you messages in Mail and in Messages and in other apps as well. And third-party developers can add filters in for their apps too. Now there's some new features in Messages. A big new one is undo send. So send won't send right away. There's a slight delay. So when you send a message, you could always tap and hold it and you can see you can undo right here. So that's really handy. Also you can edit a message. So once it's already sent you can go in and edit. Of course this will only work with iMessage and other people that have iOS 16 or newer. You can change something in it, correct a mistake, and then they'll actually see the edits if they really want to dig down. So you can't hide something by doing this, but you can make something a lot clearer. You can also mark an entire conversation as unread, which is handy in case you read it but you still want to be reminded to go back to it a little bit later on. So you've got some new features in Mail as well. You also have undo send here. So after you send something there's an undo send button and you have a little bit of time before the message is actually sent where you can hit undo and get the message back so you can make changes to it. Now you can also schedule a send. So you can have it sent later at a couple of times or have it sent at a specific time or even date. You can highly customize exactly when this message will go out. You'll see send later as a mailbox when you have at least one message there that's scheduled and you can go back and edit the time when it will be sent. Now you can also use a feature called Remind Me, which isn't actually that useful in my opinion. So in your inbox you can go to Remind Me for a message and have it remind you later. But you have to leave the message in your inbox, which means it's not that useful. I'd rather be able to archive the message and have it reappear in my inbox. There's also Follow Up, which allows you to go to your sent messages, tap a Follow Up button, and then you can compose a new message that's being sent to the same place. But this only happens if there's some text in the message that indicates that a follow-up might be needed. Like you say something like remember to do this and then it will appear. Which is kind of weird that you just can't use it anywhere or you can't set a time to be reminded to do the follow-up. And here's one other feature. Search is a little smarter now in Mail. If you search for something but maybe you don't spell it quite right or using a different word, it'll still find it. Here you can see I've spelled vacation wrong and yet it still finds the message. So we've had live text before where you can get the text out of an image, but now you can do it in video. So here's a video I'm playing in the Photos app, but it'll also work other places you play video. And I can actually pause the video and actually capture some text in the video on that still frame there. So I could just grab it or translate it. I'm just going to copy it right here and then paste it in somewhere else. In Maps you can now finally do multi-stop routes. So here I've got a route already set, but I could add a new one and then add that in, and now you can see I've got 3 places in this route. It's going to calculate it, and you can even drag and drop to reorder the locations. In the Health app there's a great new feature, Medications. You can add to the Health app your medication. Say if you take a pill every day at a certain time, you could add it in, get reminders to take that pill, and be able to check the box saying that you've taken it for that day so you know you're finished for that day. You can just type in a medication name and provide all the information. And when you do, it'll even check to see if there are any interactions you should know about. So it's really handy there, and you can go back in and edit later and archive medication. So if you take something, say, for 10 days, you can archive it so it's not something you're getting reminded of anymore. Here's a little thing, but I think it's going to be something I use all the time. There's now going to be this search button at the bottom of your home screens. So you can use that to get to Spotlight. Now I know it was just a gesture before, so it's really just as easy to get there. But I'm often using it to launch apps and do other things, so I know I'm going to be using this button all the time. There's also now a fitness app for iPhone. There was before, but you needed an Apple Watch to have it. Now you're just going to have it on your iPhone, so you can still access parts of the fitness app even if you're not an Apple Watch owner. There's something in the Settings app under Privacy called Safety Check. And you can use this if something has changed or you're concerned about security and safety here. It basically walks you through things like doing an emergency reset of who has access to things and what sharing options are on. Another cool option in Settings you can get to is Live Captions. When you turn on Live Captions, basically any video that's playing is automatically going to be captioned at the bottom of the screen. Your phone is going to take the text that's being spoken and actually show it on the bottom. Of course it's using live speech to text technology there, so the results are kind of mixed. And the overlay doesn't show up on screenshots, at least not yet, so I can't even show it to you here. You're going to have to try it on your own. In the Books app there's a lot more customization to how the text looks for EPUB type books. So before you could just change the font and background and a few things, but now you can go in. There's a whole themes and settings section here. So you've got your different themes and there are a ton more options that you can customize and save. You can change the font size and all of that. You can change different things about how it looks on the screen, and you can dig deeper and even go and bold all the text if you want and change the line spacing, character spacing, and word spacing to make it easier for you to read. Now a huge new feature across all of the new operating systems, iOS 16, iPadOS 16, and macOS Ventura, is going to be iCloud Shared Photo Library. So you can now have a shared library between several people, your family usually. This means after you turn it on, any photo that you designate as being part of the shared library you have just like always, but they also see in their photos library as well. And you can indicate whether you want all your photos to do this or just some. You can manually set some to being just personal or shared. There's tons of different options and ways to set it up. But this is a big deal, especially if, say, you and your spouse go on a trip and you both take pictures with your camera, and it's annoying that you can only see your pictures and you can't see their pictures unless you set up shared albums and all. Now you don't have to mess with that. You can just have a shared iCloud photo library and see each other's photos. Another big new feature in the Photos app is the ability to find duplicates. So you do that. It's down here under Utilities at the bottom of Albums. And Apple does it the right way, the way I've been telling people to do this forever. It shows you the photos it thinks are duplicates, and you can go through and decide what to do with each one. Get rid of one, merge the information for the two, and all of that. It looks for photos that are exact duplicates, but also ones that are really close. Like maybe if you took 2 shots in quick succession and they're basically the same thing. That way you can go through and say, well, this one's the better one. I'll get rid of the other one and limit what I have in my library. You can also now copy and paste edits. So you can make a change, say in one photo. Here I'll just make some adjustments. And then once I get those adjustments made, I can go and tap here, copy the edits. And now I could go and apply that to another photo. I don't even have to go and edit the photo to do it. So I can select this photo here. Instead of edit, I can just tap here and then paste the edits. And it applies exactly the same settings to that photo. A cool new thing you can do is lift the subject from the background. So you can't outline the subject. It will do it for you. You tap and hold on the subject and then you can drag and pull it away and use all the dragging commands to drag it to another app if you want. You can also just tap on it again and copy or share. Here I can share to mail, and instead of pasting the entire photo in there, it's just the subject in there. So it has some really cool uses. Now there's already lookup in the Photos app where you can look up things like animals and plants. Well, now we have birds, insects, and statues as well. Here's an example, although this is actually using landmarks. Now Reminders has a couple new tricks as well. One thing is you can now pin a list to the top. So if there's some really important list and you always want it to be on the top, you have lots of other lists, you can pin it up there. In addition, now you can have templates. So you can go into templates here and you can have a template like a packing list. And you can just basically create a new list from that template and reuse it and check all the items off. And it's easy to create them as well. You can just select a current list that you've got and then turn it into a template. And here's one last one. There's a translation app that you already have on your iPhone. It predates iOS 16. But now there's a camera mode in it. So you tap on the camera at the bottom and now you can just point at something and then tap the button and it kind of freezes it and gives you a translation. This is going to be really handy while traveling and trying to interpret signs and such. So there are many more small features in iOS 16 as well. These are just the ones that I thought were the most interesting and worth checking out right away. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.